douglAR Politics, Tuesday night, 7:30 p.m. sharp. We start on time. douglAR Politics, Tuesday night, 7:30 p.m.
This is douglAR Politics, yo. douglAR Politics. Listen, douglAR Politics, yeah. douglAR Politics. This is douglAR Politics, yeah. douglAR Politics. This is douglAR Politics. douglAR Politics. This is douglAR Politics.
Good evening and welcome to douglAR Politics. Express newspaper, you're now writing in your opinion page after fisherman drowned on Tuesday 24th August. Express opinion page, make swimming a national priority. Really, Express? You didn't remember a time when an Olympic swimming coach with the highest level qualification in the world, level 5 senior, World Swim Coaches Association, American Swim Coaches Association, level 3 NCCP in Canada, Olympic bronze medal winning coach, world record holder, coach of a world record holder, world championship bronze medalist multiple times, world championship finalist, 8 Olympic qualifiers. You didn't remember when there was a person with that kind of qualification in charge of the Ministry of Sport, and not only was the aquatic center built, which was promised since 1966 by the Honorable Dr. Eric Eustace Williams when Laura Denise won an international medal. And there was a cabinet note to build 36 more 25-meter pools in every one of the constituencies that was lacking one. There was a cabinet note and there was collaboration between the Minister of Education, Tim Gopi Singh, the Minister of Science and Tertiary Education, Fazal Karim, and the then Minister of Sport, Anil Roberts, to make swimming compulsory in all primary schools for children 8 years and under. You don't remember that, Express? But you all talk, you all write lies, you all attack Kamala, you all remove a progressive government, and every day your editorials show that we've returned to minus, that we always return to the PNM. Whether it's diversification of the economy, you all blame all governments. But when Bastio Pandey comes in and moves the diversification needle this way, you all return the PNM. And when Kamala Prasad Bisesa comes and moves the diversification of the economy this way, you move and put Rowley, a lying prime minister who went to the parliament and lied on Emailgate and sundry other things. And what happens to the diversification process? It goes backwards. And then you blame all governments. Now you have the audacity to write, make swimming a national priority. Under the United National Congress, under Prime Minister Kamala Prasad Bisesa, swimming was a national priority. This is the kind of nonsense. And you write as if you're in a vacuum, or you're not here in Trinidad and Tobago Express, but you're so warped with your political biases that this is the kind of nonsense we have to put up with. Without the UNC, this country would be crumbling. I congratulate all the UNC MPs out there with their boots flood. Dr. Rishi nearly get leptospirosis from being in flood, helping people and dealing with mud waters. Dave Tanku out there, Rudal Munilal, Kamala Prasad Bisesa out in the field, helping people walking through water. Where Rowley was? In C3 Mall in a suit with a shiny shoes. But Victor Roberts of Labre, and no relation, and no family, so don't feel Anil begin up his father or his brother or something. Victor Roberts has no DNA, except that he's a UNC brother and a caring man. This man went out there, had a tornado hit Los Heroes, and he went live and he went to help people immediately. And them PNM ministers found out that they had a devastating situation. Look them, that Victor Roberts pickup truck that Kazim Hussein in, that the audit PM man in, all the PNM council and them in Victor UNC Roberts man. And then they come here in the newspaper and they say 6 Los Heroes families get grants from self-help. The Newsday. What is Newsday? PNM Day. The National Self-Help Commission has approved 6 emergency repair grants for Los Heroes residents affected by Monday's tornado in Erin. Officials from the commission and Labre MP Stephen McClatchy office gave out the grants on Friday. That is how classless McClatchy and the PNM is. They only learn about it through Victor Roberts. They went on Victor Roberts' van, and when they're handing out grants that Victor Roberts enabled and fought for the people to get, they invite Victor Roberts. They thank Victor Roberts. They mention the UNC Victor Roberts. Let me tell you something. Form may be temporary. PNM may be in power now because the electorate was hoodwinked and fooled by the media. But class is permanent, Victor Roberts. So you don't get that. I know you ain't doing the work for no big up and no thanks and no shake hand. But I giving you respect, Victor Roberts, because without you, them people would have get nothing. So well done, my brother. I told y'all, they were back 2 years ago, or was it last year early, they had a PS in the Ministry of Finance who come out to give the nation a presentation and spewing political rhetoric and giving us a presentation promoting the PNM fiscal policy and the PNM economic policy and so on. And I came to y'all on douglAR Policy. I said, but what is this? This PS, this a PNM PS, this a political PS, this man have no shame. A PS is just supposed to come and give us the numbers. In March, we got in X and we spent Y, and we dip in the heritage and stabilization at this amount. End of story. Don't come and tell us that it's not empty in the treasury and so on. That is for Coleman them to do. Them is politicians. Public servants are not politicians. Permanent secretaries are not politicians. You are there to make sure that the rules are followed and the government policy is implemented within the law. That is your work. But look what happened now. And you're all happy to live in a country where there are no independent institutions. Let me read something for you. Dan Paul resigns from NIF. You know who is Dan Paul? That same PS, that same permanent secretary who was playing PNM politics with Coleman them. He resigned from the NIF board, and he is appointed by the People's National Movement government of Keith Christopher Rowley and of Colm Imber to be the High Commissioner in the United Kingdom. And that is how your money, the permanent secretary is supposed to be there to protect your money from politicians who want to do shimmy-dimmy. And these permanent secretaries form such tight, close relationships with PNM ministers and espouse PNM policy and play PNM politics, so much so that one of the PNM ministers get locked up because the PS is such a friend and close confidant of the minister that she do wrong thing, because no other minister could have ever get no money into no foundation without account, without no, they follow the rules to the letter of the law. So how come they didn't follow the letter of the law? Because PNM ministers have wife who is PS. PNM ministers have husband who is PS. PNM ministers know and hug up the PS. Alison Lewis was a PS in the Ministry of Finance, and she now on NICWAN board. She now the PNM chairman of the Port Authority. These are the people who are charged with keeping your money safe, and under the PNM, them could do anything. So Dan Paul, former permanent secretary Dan Paul, now the PNM appointed High Commissioner to the United Kingdom. Well done, boy. Way to hold that independent line, man. You ride that horse good, boy. Well, you know, last week I made history, and some of you all recorded. Some of all you choke. You choke on your doubles that you was eating in the night because you keep it and freeze it and put it in the microwave while you was drinking your coffee. When all you heard me say, Coleman, but I respect you on this one. I tell all you I don't like Coleman, but at all. But recently I got reports from inside the cabinet that Coleman but is standing firm against the wishes of Keith Christopher Rowley, causing bacchanal, shouting, cuss out, because Keith Christopher Rowley it is alleged, wanted to ensure that some payments went to HDC. Remember I tell all of that? Some contractors. Well, look, Sunshine. Sunshine seemed to be getting the information. And who is this boy here? This is Rowley boy. Anytime he and Rowley Lyman, I just see one big bag. Me I know if it's cataract I have, I don't know what. I just see a big bag. One day I see him coming out Massey stores in Alice Glen and one big bag. And I swear I see Rowley name on it. This man. So call me, but it appears that the Sunshine have the story so calm on this aspect where you're trying to protect taxpayer money from overpricing, from overpressure, from overspending, protecting the people's money calm. I have never said this, and I know you probably since 1991. Call me, but well done. Sunshine had the story, all you get the Sunshine. The greed of the awesome foursome from the Sunshine, all you go and read it. I tell all you, I just know what's going on in that PNM cabinet more than PNM cabinet ministers. Talking about the PNM. This PNM and this pum-pum governance is going too far. I see a PNM man stand firm though. He stand firm because this man here leading with pum-pum governance. Right? Because this lady here, oh good, my hand disappeared. This lady there get bold face and write the URP project manager, the person who is in charge of protecting the purse of the government, employing the poorest people, making sure everybody could have a little food on the table. This woman gets so big in the pum-pum governance, she write a letter on a PNM letterhead to instruct a public servant paid by taxpayer money that she is going to rescind appointments for and recommendations for jobs, and that she is going to authorize who is to get work. This PNM pum-pum governance here. Well, look, the URP project manager accuses failed PNM candidate of attempting to manipulate the program. Well, PNM, very good. Inda Parashram says he blanked a request by state board member Shada Satram, a former PNM candidate who had advised Parashram to take certain action on URP employment since she was reorganizing PNM's Couva North PNM constituency. Parashram disassociated URP from Satram's action, confirmed this yesterday after UNC MP Rudy Indarsing called on the PNM government on the issue. Well done. So pum-pum governance, pum-pum now rule in this occasion, pum-pum get blank, but police investigate the pum-pum. Ensure momentum for our children's vaccinations, says the Newsday editorial. A little while ago, about a week ago, when Pfizer rollout started for children, didn't you see these newspapers talking about no hesitancy, excellent, brilliant, amazing? And didn't I come on douglAR Politics and tell you all, but what nonsense are you all talking about? Hesitancy does not begin at 0. Hesitancy would begin at, and I went optimistically up to 30,000, if there are 91,000 children. There are certain areas and certain people in the population who have research and believe in the vaccination 100% and will go and will take their children and will get it done. There's another percentage who are hesitant, they're unsure, they're wondering, they're investigating what brands, they're looking for more information, they're getting information, some confusing, some real. They have not seen any real education program from the government, and they are a bit hesitant, but they may prefer from their research certain brands like Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, as opposed to Sinopharm. That's okay, but that's where the hesitancy come, and that's where the leadership has to come. So now, the editorial, after claiming brilliant crowds on the first 2 days, when everything trickling now, this is what happens because we have media who pretend that they don't understand a simple thing. Hesitancy does not begin at 0. There are about this much people, they want to take it, they're willing to take it, they will rush to take it. Then they have this who may take it, but you have to convince them. And then you have this who not taking it. So that's what you have to understand. So now they're calling for keep the momentum. How you go keep the momentum without educating people, without talking to them, without allaying their fears, without answering their questions, shouting down at them and threatening them, lying every day, and they having no trust in you. You cannot convince anybody of anything. When I talk in trust, for example, look at the man who's leading the fight on the pandemic, and you all want to know why we're losing. We are losing the fight and war against the pandemic because nobody trusts Rowley, and nobody trusts Convent Girl, and nobody trusts the doctors that they put in there, because the doctors are playing games and receiving gifts that they should not receive. Honorary doctorate for doing international and regional work. When you're right here, me and no Trinidad and Tobago is international, or you get visa to go to Tobago. Next one, we don't know. We keep asking him if he got a scholarship fund from Joe Newell Williams and the PNM, like that woman who danced and couldn't finish the exam, Laurel Lazama Lee, saying $500,000 taxpayer money and could not even pass. That's where the trust is lost. So Keith Christopher Rowley came out and telling all you. For example, let me give you some examples. Because in order to ease vaccine hesitancy, people, human beings must have trust in the experts, trust in the Prime Minister, trust in the leadership, and must be educated. They must be treated with respect. Talk to them, explain, give them information, answer questions. That's the way to convince people. But for example, Rowley Ball, and Archie, you go run the, so all you don't say I lie. Rowley Ball, all vaccine is the same. The vaccine that we used to take, that I have a big circle in my arm and thing for rubella, measles, polio and them thing, he's saying them vaccine that have full approval is the same as these vaccine that have emergency approval. All you feel a lie? Listen to this man lie. Listen to Rowley. Run it.
I can't recall how many vaccines I took during my primary school and secondary school days. As a matter of fact, I remember being vaccinated in high school for one of those child diseases and was laughed at. Everybody's asking me where I was when I was a child. Because vaccination is an integral part of our protection shield. It is only because in 2021, Facebook allows every interested party to be an unmatriculated expert and takes on responsibilities which are not theirs.
Yes. And he went on to say that emergency approval and full approval is the same thing. And the only difference is Facebook and Instagram. Really? Let's investigate that. Let's check and see what is full approval of a vaccine that we have for the ones that we give our children and that we took and that he took. I don't even know how he remember. He owed Christ 25 cents. He's so old and hardened. But full approval and emergency approval are not the same thing. So when you lie to people, they don't believe you. Put it up there. FDA approves, first, put it up bigger. First COVID-19 vaccine, the FDA, and soon to follow would be the WHO and others. Today, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration approved the first COVID-19 vaccine. The vaccine has been known as the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 and will now be marketed as Comirnaty, right, for the prevention. The FDA's approval of this vaccine is a milestone as we continue to battle the COVID-19 pandemic. While this and other vaccines have met the FDA's rigorous scientific standards for emergency use authorization, which is what all have right now, as the first FDA-approved COVID-19 vaccine, the public can be very confident that the vaccine meets the high standards for safety, effectiveness, and manufacturing quality the FDA requires of an approved product, said Acting FDA Commissioner Janet Woodcock. While millions of people have already safely received COVID-19 vaccines, we recognize that for some, the FDA approval of a vaccine may still we now instill additional confidence. Move that one and put up the next one. Right? Now listen to what they're saying. There is a difference between emergency approval and full approval. Full approval is much more data, much more science, much more experience, much more people took it, much more information gathered in order to come to conclusions. And then you get FDA full approval. And they are saying that that would add confidence. Rowley tell you, full approval, emergency approval, same thing. Take the damn thing. You must not lie. What's the difference between an emergency approval and a full approval? A biologics license application, or BLA, is an FDA standard full approval mechanism for biological products, full approval, including therapeutics and vaccines. A company seeking a BLA for its product must demonstrate that the product is safe, pure, and potent, which generally means completing robust, well-controlled clinical trials. A company receiving a BLA for the product can introduce the product into interstate commerce after robust, well-controlled clinical trials. That's when you get full approval, as opposed to, put up the next one, emergency approval. By contrast, an emergency use authorization, or EUA, is just that. An authorization to distribute an otherwise unapproved product or an approved product for an unapproved use during an emergency formally declared by the Secretary of Health and Human Services. Both the substantive and procedural rules surrounding an EUA differ from those surrounding a BLA or the BLA counterpart for small molecule drugs, a new drug application NDA. Substantively, the standard for granting an EUA is whether, based on the totality of scientific evidence available, based on what you know at this point, we're going to give it approval because we feel we don't have a robust amount of data, but we feel it will help, but it's an emergency situation, and on weighing of the counterbalance, we give you emergency approval. Rowley tried to tell us that emergency approval and full approval, like what Pfizer now got, is the same thing. You must not lie, Rowley. It is reasonable to believe that the product may be effective and that the known and potential benefits outweigh. Are you hearing the language? It is reasonable to believe, not to know. When you reach full approval, you know. When you have your vaccine for rubella and polio and thing they take when you're a baby, you know them thing good because they went through the rigorous, robust testing with increased number of data and all the information, and you know exactly what you're putting in your children, baby arm to protect them. There is a total difference between emergency and full, and we have a clown, a bullet, Oreo, lying dunce trying to tell people that is the same thing, and the only difference is Facebook and Instagram. That is not true. So therefore people don't trust you when you get caught lying, you clown. Run the video too. Run the FDA approval of Pfizer.
Approval actually mean for all of us right now?
Well, good morning, Kara. What this basically means is that with 6 months of safety data, now remember, emergency use authorization only requires a couple months, that the vaccine is still safe, is still effective, and now it just opens the door for more universities, businesses, corporations, even local and state governments to mandate the vaccine. And what this means is that people out there who wanted to wait and see or wanted to see more safety data got exactly what they wanted this morning. So this is all optimistic news.
And Moderna has also applied, and the process here on page 36 Newsday International News, full approval for Pfizer, a process that required a 360,000 page application, a 360,000 page application. Rowley say emergency, which don't require that no 360,000 page application, and full approval is the same thing. But everybody is praising this full approval and showing that they are robust numbers, because over the globe 200 million Pfizer vaccines were administered in the US, and hundreds of millions more across the globe. And from that wide pool and taking information, data, and realizing what are the effects, ill effects, the positives, and so on, you get enough data to be certain, to be sure, and you get that approval. Rowley is telling us the only difference between them vaccines that have full approval that we take as babies is Facebook and Instagram. What an idiot. Then he went on to say also, and Archie will run the video because I don't want to always say I lie on Rowley. He went on to say, some of you, well, remember before he said, some of us think Pfizer is the Rolls Royce. And then he came to say, well, some of you all feel there's a brand, so he go in and take out the brand, and wherever you go, you just take a vaccine, because all the vaccine is the same, and the branding don't matter. That's what he said. Let's run it there, Archie. Let me hear him.
Their children, but believes government may have to take measures to ensure enough students are vaccinated.
Left it up to the responsibility of parents to be reasonable, to be understanding, to be caring, and to be responsible. And if it gets to that, the government will have no difficulty in intervening on the children's behalf. So those who have 1,000,001 reasons from Facebook to not get your children vaccinated, that is your right. But by the same token, other parents have rights for their children, and the government has a right and a responsibility. Every child will be guaranteed an education, but the nature of that education, the face-to-face contact, will be determined by the health and safety consideration.
Because everybody else has spoken, the private sector has spoken, the unions have spoken, and we will meet again on the 30th of August to have further discussions as one. But I feel that it is important that I now speak to you about the government's position, the cabinet's position. Philosophically, I personally, and most of my cabinet, in fact my cabinet, have all agreed that we should not mandate vaccines. We're philosophically opposed to the mandating of vaccines. And that's not who we are as a people. Barbados' overriding objective must be to, one, yes, to keep this country safe, but equally to keep this country united. That is who we are. 166 square miles cannot admit of the serious divisions. And COVID has done enough damage already. It has threatened too many of us. It has taken, regrettably, those 48 persons. But COVID must not be allowed to divide us as a people, as a nation. As a result, yesterday when the social partnership met, we all agreed that this is the way for us to go, that we have to do better by our people, and that before we start talking about legal opinion and the legislative framework, those things are not us. And that our first thing next week is for me to go to understand those who may still be ambivalent. Those who have already made up their mind, I get you, I hear you. Because in my own family, I got people who believe in alternative medicine. I got people who say they don't want that. But in every household, there are always divisions that us as a people. And whether we support vaccinations or we don't support vaccinations must not be allowed to divide us. COVID has affected 2% of Barbadians in terms of people catching it. In terms of the well-being, mental, physical, and financial, it has affected 98%, if not 100% of Barbadians. But what it must not be allowed to do is to divide us. And to that extent, my friends, hospitalizations. What does that mean? That, for example, persons who are not wanting vaccines because they're a little ambivalent, we can come and talk with you. Persons who may have concerns or medical questions, we can try to find the answers for you. Persons who are adamant that they don't want it, we respect you. But we want to recognize also, for all of us, that this is a country where we invariably never have 100% of one thing or another, but we have learned how to live together and how to carry each other.
You see the trust that is developed. Now that was the wrong video, but it's all in developing the trust. The reason we have vaccine hesitancy, the reason we have low percentages of people vaccinated is one, Rowley did not procure no vaccines in time. He's late. Now we have plenty, yes. 8 months after, every day lost. It's lives lost and money lost. Economy shattered. So 8.5 going on 9 months of delinquency, now trying to force people, curse people, shout at people, threaten people. Look at Mia Amor Motley talking about respect, discussion, hearing views, answering questions. Even though she believes in the vaccine totally, she respects everybody's opinion and she will convince you. She will bring the science, bring the data, educate you, answer questions. This man come out and ball and threatening people, children. But also it continues with the misinformation. The video that I wanted to show you is him saying that all brand is the same. He has been saying it for a while. That some people feel Pfizer is the Rolls Royce and this one and this Sinopharm ain't good and so on. All the vaccine is the same. That's what he has been saying. Another batch of nonsense. Not true. Archie, run him.
Do not deny yourself a vaccine because it is this brand or that. As a matter of fact, from here on in, the government will be speaking to you about vaccine dose and not vaccine brand. Because we are to have vaccines in every health center and other places of service that we designate, as we will designate for our students and young people in the days ahead. Go out and get your vaccine.
Do you hear this man? Do you hear this arrogant idiot? The government will not talk to its flock of sheep about brand. So we could go and choose a brand of soft drink, of juice. We could go to a doubles cart, tasty doubles and not like that, and choose another doubles. But in life-saving vaccine, we, the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, cannot read, find out which one now has FDA full approval as opposed to emergency approval. What are the efficacy rates? What is the protection? What are the side effects? What is the methodology used in the vaccine? We can't do that because King Papadoc say he telling you just take vaccine. So all is the same and he says so. Mia Amor Motley says, listen, we are talking, we want to convince you, we trying to respect, we must not be divided. Let's get to this, we need to get the economy going and so on. And then this man come to threaten. So what say you now, Rowley? That Pfizer has received full approval after filling out a 360,000 page application. Full approval, now it could be sold, that they don't have to go through no government. It have full approval just like the vaccines that we take when we are babies. What say you? All these vaccines are the same? So why Pfizer went through this multi-million-dollar process and application? Why is Moderna doing it? Why is Johnson & Johnson doing it? Why they doing it if all is the same? Because you keep lying, and that's why our country is in total vaccine hesitancy. Because when the leaders lie, it opens up the ears of the citizens to all sorts of other information. Trust cannot be built. And then you come to threaten people, children. You come to say, and you Rowley, you is the one who you contract COVID-19. You get COVID-19 with your irresponsible self. You spread COVID-19 to what your doctor say was 35 people. How many did those 35 people spread it to? You have a cabinet member who dropped dead. You, Rowley, who invite people to Tobago to spread COVID-19 all over Tobago. Tobagonians still suffering from your irresponsibility. And you arrogantly now threatening people, children. Well, listen what has happened when you threaten people, children. Run it there, Archie.
Heavens crying. Mr. PM, who you threatening? Vaccinate with children or else Who you threatening? Like you forget who you working for. Listen, I don't care who want to unfollow, who want to don't like me again. As a parent, I'm gonna tell you, you know why? You know why I extend the SOE? Because you know, watch me, we coming. I ready, you know. I ready, you know. Like you forget who you working for, you know. Mr. Manning, God rest his soul, he won all here and all that. Go on and do. Listen, this is not a political thing, you know. This is a evil action by a leader, you know. But let me tell you something. You see, my picnic and them, I can't talk about nobody else, you know. I'm not here to influence nobody else. You see, my own, you're not getting them, and I'm prepared to make a jail. You're wicked. I say you're wicked. Who want to unfollow?
And you're wicked. And you feel you are smarter than all of us when you are a complete idiot that has our country suffering. Over 1,200 people dead of COVID-19, Brazilian variant in here, porous borders, and the economy totally shattered, possibly never to return. Over 200,000 people lost jobs during your leadership. You should hang your head in shame, but you stand there with your laundered shirt, ugly shirt and sports jacket and arrogantly threaten people with the children when every word coming out your mouth is not based on science. You close down beaches. Why are beaches closed and rivers closed, but we could go in a mall and shop? What nonsense? What science is that? When you lie and say that all vaccine is the same, that emergency approval is the same as full approval, total nonsense. When you talk about you can't take the vaccine for 6 months because you had COVID-19. When you talk about, oh no, it's not this, the spike is not that, it is people carrying candle. Everything you and your government say is untrue. The people do not trust you, and you come to threaten them, you come to bully them, and now you come to bully the children. And while that is going on, hear the Guardian. You hear what Rowley said there. I just play it for you. Hear the Guardian's interpretation of what Rowley said. Prime Minister's appeal to parents and guardians. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley yesterday again appealed to parents to allow their children to take the vaccine. That's what he did. He appealed. So NCW and the whole country who see and hear threaten. When we read the newspapers about Rowley threaten parents, the Guardian said he appealed to them. Guardian, you all are sick. That what I tell all you Mr. Sabga and Mr. Sabga, while you all boasting about your corporation and movement across, and I am proud of your business acumen. But you support this nonsense and have our entire country. As Senator David Nackett said, in Lebanon they have a saying that a corrupt politician and corrupt media will burn, let a country burn in order to light their cigar. And that's what you all are doing. Answer Makal, while your company is flourishing, good for you. The rest of us are left to burn with this incompetent fool that your Guardian Media Limited is promoting and pushing. Oh, he appeal. And here he don't even know what's going on in his own government. His entire government ad campaign from the Ministry of Health come down, and the SWRHA, NCRHA, ERHA, all the RHAs, go on, jab, 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 get the jab, jab to live, jab to fit, jab to beach, jab, 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 jab with horny goat weed, jab, jab. Look at me, minister, who get jab. We're not in Chiam, from the horny goat weed man. Go get the jab, she says. They don't even know what's going on. Your prime minister now say he don't like the word jab, even though his whole government talking about jab, jab, jab. You come out 5 days after your prime minister that jab you to tell people, go get the jab in Tobago. Did you take a jab to do this? What's this? Victoria's Secret. That is pum-pum governance for y'all. That's why the country in a total mess. Pum-pum is sweet, pum-pum nice, but pum-pum is not for governance. Hey, as we talk pum-pum, look, leave up he. No, he go buy this. He go buy this, and this could be for she comings and goings. Victoria's Secret opens in the falls at Westmall, boy. So all the village ram and them could go and buy thing for the girl and them. They could get job, but we can't go on the beach. We can't go on the river, but we could go in the mall and biting to promote pum-pum governance. That is science for you? Yes, you could buy lingerie, but you can't go on the beach with hot sun, breeze, and salt water. But you could go in a mall in the air condition with metal railings and so on, and claustrophobia. Rowley real good. And look at the man promoted Rowley on Newsday. You know what I like about all you? You could come in on this one, Archie, if you could. Yes, all the stupidity going across the COVID-19 chaos, the late procurement of vaccination, the rollout, the spikes, the people that have died because of incompetence, the doctors that are being ignored, the playwright that is in charge of all the COVID-19 fight, this convent girl that is in charge, and the Newsday continuously tries to promote him as some cool man. Yes, look, the cool minister of health, the great minister of health that's saving so many lives and has us so good in COVID-19 that our economy is booming, Madam Speaker, and our country is booming and everything is great. Look, them put a picture of he bouncing, but what's the mother in the back, eh? The mother in the back watching like, but oh good, I've going and scrub down that boy hand. Next thing, my bright son get dunced like that man who bounced him. You could shop till you drop, but no sports. The Alsing say, one shot and you're done. To the rural communities, let me read this. People living in remote and coastal areas will be prioritized for distribution of the Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine. Health Minister Terence Dialsing made this announcement yesterday, noting the single-dose vaccine would be more convenient for people in these areas. Well, I want to say well done Kamla Prasad Bisesa, well done Dave Tanku, well done Rudal Munilal, well done Barry Padarat, well done Victor Roberts, who is not the MP but advocating for the people in the Southwest Peninsula, well done Rashtan Pare Mayaro, well done Dr. Rai Ragbir and Komuto Manzanilla, well done in Faizabad Lakram Bodo for showing this government that they were discriminating against the children with the vaccination sites. They learn, you see. Imagine the UNC has to continuously teach the PNM what should be done. All your shame, elections have consequences. All you vote for this bag of duns and now trying to prop them up and give them ideas. They just don't have it. You know, I wish I was in Parliament tomorrow. I in the upper house or the upper house, but I would like to watch Rowley in the eye with his scarf around his neck, with the Oreo ball head shining in the light and my head shining brighter than him. Watch him in the eye after he talk a bag of nonsense to try and extend the SOE and destroy his each and every argument because he's a dishonest clown. Let me tell you something. Forget PNM, UNC, forget independent, forget everything right now. Let me just talk pure sense. We're in a state of emergency for 104 days, right, so far. And just yesterday had 12 deaths, 112 positive cases. During the state of emergency, we have hit numbers of 400, 500. We went down to averaging 100 for a period of time. But then a super spreader event where they pull out people to go and vaccinate again. And the Brazilian variant came and it went back up to 200, 300. After all that time, with a incubation period of 14 days, you know. So let me tell you something, 14 days of state of emergency and lockdown, you are supposed to see a dramatic decrease in the numbers of infections. We, after 105 days of lockdown, shutdown and broke down, have seen little or anything. And now we're opening back up, but he coming to extend state of emergency. Well, let's hear what is Rowley, what is rationale for extending a state of emergency that is no date on, that has failed, as we have over 1,000 deaths during the state of emergency. Over 31,000 positive cases during the state of emergency. This man going to extend a state of emergency which is a very critical tool only to be used in the most extreme circumstances to protect the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. When we were in government and we called a state of emergency, crime was hitting high numbers. 11 people murdered in 12 or 16 hours. There were reports of 50 submachine guns, Uzis, that came into the country, and the police and army needed to find those Uzis and so on. There were critical reasons, and information was gathered and intelligence to make a decision. That decision took hours of debate, argument, 5 cabinet meetings before it was called, and it was not extended, even though it brought about results. But Rowley come with a SOE that has done nothing, that we have still died. The economy is now totally shattered. Over 42% of businesses will never open again. 200,000 people unemployed. People starving and hungry, waiting and looking for hamper. And this man saying he is going to extend a state of emergency with a simple majority. And you all have to understand, it's a simple majority. Could extend it for the next 3 months without opposition support. Only if they want to extend it after that 6 months, they would require opposition support. Kamala Prasad-Biswas has already said she does not support it. There is no data to show that it works, and there is no reason for implementing the state of emergency because there is no science that will show that it will produce any effects that would lead to benefits to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Hear what Rowley say. Well, the SOE will reduce movement and congregation because, you know, people will have freedom party. Now, not only is this man a complete idiot in the present tense, not only has he been a complete idiot since 1969 as a teacher looking for pom-pom from a girl of school age, but he now has a crystal ball that he looks in, and he could make himself a jackass in the future. So he is saying that if he removes the knee from our neck, the citizens, that we go party. So he's a bouncer. He is to stop party. He know that it will have party, so he using a state of emergency suppression of your rights because he feel people go lime. Does that sound like a critical emergency that requires a state of emergency and suppression of your rights? I'm not talking to the PNM people, because I know everybody else who think right would know that's abject nonsense. I'm talking to people who want to wind their neck for the PNM. Rowley feel that y'all might party, y'all might celebrate freedom, but one thing is right, because he is an oppressor. The Oreo is akin to a colonial master. The Oreo has suffered black and brown people more than the colonial masters. So he is correct. But we will only celebrate the freedom when he is out of the office of Prime Minister. He has brought that office into disrepute. Here the second one. And you all help me with this because I've been trying for about 3 days to think about this one and to see what could he possibly be talking about. He is going to extend a state of emergency to ensure you all get vaccinated, to put an aggressive vaccination drive. What does a state of emergency have to do with vaccination? Somebody help me, please, because I have no clue what that clown is talking about. And this is the nonsense that he is going into the parliament based on your votes in the marginal constituencies with an EBC run by the niece of a former sitting minister, and his victory by 2,600 votes in 2 marginals when all the marginals came up with approximately 9,450 votes. He is coming to use that power to put his knee on your neck and oppress you, because he wants to do an aggressive vaccination drive. So what he was doing all the time, and what is needed in the SOE to do a vaccination drive, and how does an aggressive vaccination drive impact with hesitancy, lack of education, lack of information, lack of humility, lack of consultation, and people who do not trust you, Rowley, because you lie every time you open your big greasy mouth. Then the third one, the best chance to support and sustain the gains that we have made. What gains? We had 103 days of SOE. We had 12 deaths yesterday, 112 positive cases, over 31,000 positive cases during the SOE, collapse of the economy, loss of jobs, and he's saying we had gains. And the only way to keep gains is to lock up all your tail, like always a bunch of prisoners and criminals, always convicts. Well, okay, good for y'all. And here comes the Guardian again. That's the nonsense Rowley just said. I just asked y'all, and y'all could go through in your own mind and figure out whether the state of emergency makes sense and extending it for another 3 months. Here the Guardian opinion page 12, Saturday, August 21st. The jury is out on the decision by the government to extend the state of emergency beyond the end of August. Views on the planned extension are mixed. With the opposition leader Kamala Prasad Bisesa demanding that scientific data be provided. The SOE, which has been in effect for the past 3 months, includes at 9 a.m. and so on. The Guardian goes on this whole thing here. And this is called the Guardian opinion. This is the editorial page where they're supposed to gather information. They're supposed to do the analysis and come out with their opinion based on fact. The Guardian opinion page gives us no opinion. They have no opinion. They give us no analysis, no data, no science, no opinion. They just say, well, Rowley say he extended and Kamala say she don't agree with it. What do you say, Guardian? What has the previous 103 days done? What has it done? What have we achieved? And on top of that, a man who catch COVID, spread it, invited people to Tobago, kept borders porous, delinquent in procuring vaccine, no communication, no education program on vaccination efficacy, how it works, the methodology, no pamphlets, no conferences, no discussion, no consultation. From November to July 2021, November 2020 to July 2021, and he is instructing and buffing and telling you state of emergency. But the Express says a weak case for extending the SOE. This newspaper now sees no justification. You see, at least the Sunday Express gave an opinion. They analyzed the information, the data, and gave an opinion. Guardian, licking Rowley K-Pax to keep him in power for answer to increase their profitability. And Mr. Sabga and Mr. Sabga, you see why I have a problem with y'all? Because you think one way for your business, and you let the country sink down the slow slope into a cesspool of inequity and incompetence. This newspaper now sees no justification for maintaining this extreme constitutional measure, given its lack of impact in putting the brake on COVID-19. We are, however, open to listening. The continued imposition of an SOE poses the risk of entrenching and normalizing suspension of rights. It's like the frog, the proverbial frog. You put a frog in a pot of normal water and you heat it up gradually. The frog don't know that it's boiling there, and it cook. It turned from live frog to dead cooked frog. That's what we are getting. Because all the institutions and Rowley the dictator has controlled every independent institution. He now controls the fourth estate. He controls the parliament, the senate. He controls across the board. He controls the EBC. He controls, trying to control the office of the commissioner of police. He have police reporting to Stuart Smallpin Young. He controls all the boards. He controls every aspect of life in Trinidad and Tobago. And now he has suppressed your rights and has come in with a simple majority to do so again with the most flippant of reasons. He don't even bother to give you a serious reason, but he going tomorrow to do it. A state of emergency is the ultimate legislative tool available to a government for dealing with a crisis. It is to be used sparingly, says the Express, and within defined conditions. Outside of this, it can be an abuse of power and should therefore not be invoked lightly. And that is what Rowley is doing. So Express, why didn't you continue to say you agree with Kamala Prasad Bisesa and you call upon Keith Rowley to cease and desist because he's trying to invoke a state of emergency with flimsy reasons. Why don't you carry your opinion to its logical conclusion? Because you all have no cojones, and you have us in this mess with this clown as Prime Minister. And somebody say, but Anil, you must respect the office even if you don't respect the man. What nonsense are you talking? I respect the office of Prime Minister. But if you have no respect for the man, I don't respect Rowley. I don't respect him as a teacher in 1969. I don't respect him as a man who leave his children outside and only take care of those inside. I don't respect him as a man who does treat women, sir. We sweet boys that treat women good. I don't respect him as a man because he stand up. All I hate Rowley. And I don't lie on Rowley. Not one day, not 1 minute, not 1 second have you all ever heard me tell a lie on Rowley. Rowley went in the parliament and lie on Kamla, lie on Munilal, lie on Gary Griffith, lie on Suraj Rambachan, lie on Anand Ramlogan, lie. And I must respect that, or you give me a flipping chance. This stupid movie now for a booty in the head. I wish I could have played here a game of football. I really do. Yes, nice game of football. Now look at the Guardian again, right? And this is the games I'm just showing y'all. Because all of y'all agree across the board. Even PNM people is go, boy, them UNC real perform, boy. Road was smooth, flooding was mitigated, agriculture was increasing, diversification, the ease of doing business, transport to Tobago smooth, foreign direct investment, grants, education, build school, sporting facilities. Boy, Kamla real do good. They just say it quiet so them PNM and them. But God, boy, all your real thief, boy. Yes. But Rowley spend more money than Kamla and her government. And you see nothing completed, nothing working, everything in total collapse. But other people thief, not Rowley and them. Look why you believe that. And this is a very serious thing. This is the Guardian newspaper, right? Page 9. You have the opposition party, 309,000 votes. The leader of the opposition, 19 seats in parliament, 6 senators, 7 corporations, countless councillors, impacting people's lives across Trinidad and Tobago. And the UNC talks for about an hour on a myriad of issues. And the Guardian, go back up. The Guardian chooses to put the official opposition here, right next to the MSJ. The MSJ with 2,622 votes in a whole country of 41 constituencies. Right? That is abject, total nonsense. And that is what they try to do, to try and keep the opposition divided by pretending that the MSJ have any relevance. How can the MSJ have the same space? Because in media, it's always priority of voice, power, reach, maximum, and so on. That's what media is. Numbers. Who controls the biggest numbers? So after the government, it's the opposition. Why MSJ reach? It has men on TV and Facebook I think have more reach than MSJ. Now, I saw a video on Facebook. I didn't even know where this, because when PNM and them had a thing on Facebook, you had about 12 people watching and so on. But I saw this little clip of this thing, and I ain't gonna lie, I didn't know whether to laugh, to cry, to stoops, to cuss, or to choke. I was drinking orange juice and eating Doritos. Well, not really the real Doritos, the local version, you understand? But all you hold on, that's not the important thing. Watch, and if you're eating, don't eat. Watch this video of this PNM, some PNM round table with the black benches. Black benches, you know, men who have no rank, men who have no portfolio, men who have portfolio, and another man who pink walking all over his portfolio. A man who have nothing to do, say nothing, do nothing. Men who sit down there, not even a minister. Go hear what them talking and listen carefully to what they say, you know, because I think the whole cabinet must move from lower St. Anne's to mid St. Anne's and go up on the 3rd floor of St. Anne's Hospital. Listen to these mad people.
Notwithstanding their horrendous track record of thievery,
pilferage and making the economy like the treasury, like an open sepulchre for all their friends who want Panama to walk in, to take, had, borrow, thief, and go after all of that. Are you saying to me they still get the 19 seats and that is what you mean is different? Let me talk.
No, well, the conversation I'm having is that we are held to a different standard and we do not mind being held to that different standard. That is why we are 65 years. And what others can get away with, we cannot get away with. And we don't want to.
And this brings me back to This brings me back to my colleague's point. Don't lump us in with them. We are different.
The PNM Keith Scotland. Keith. The PNM is held to a higher standard. Really, Keithos? You're a lawyer, so let's debate Keithos. You can't get a portfolio. You have a dunce who stayed in law school twice as long as you, who's the Attorney General above you. You are a non-ranking black bencher, Keithos, my brother Keith Scotland. So let me debate you. You put forward a hypothesis that the PNM is held to a higher standard, okay? What's this higher standard? What about the fake oil appeal matter, Keith Scotland? What about the appeal? Where's the appeal? Where's the ethics, the morality, the transparency? Senior counsel has said appeal the arbitration, appeal Keith Scotland. What's happening? 45 days gone, 50 days. What about that? What about it's the friend of the Prime Minister who admitted that the Prime Minister who is the head of the National Security Council and the head of Petrotrin and appoints the board of Petrotrin and puts the committee in charge of energy and energy affairs and appoints the Minister of Energy, that the Prime Minister called his friend who was accused or alleged to have done something wrong, and that's the highest standard. Keith Scotland, you're a man, a legal luminary, Keithos. What about the Bridgman's contract and the approval by your Prime Minister by himself when he lied to the Tobagonians and said it went through the rigors of cabinet? And then he came with a small pin in the Joint Select Committee and said, no, I was in Tobago, and on the Friday, over the phone, I approved it because the boats would have been lost. And then he went back for covering approval, and he approved crooked money, a company that should not have even qualified to bid. That's a high standard there, Keith Scotland. What about the Galleons Passage? Ministers procuring. They were supposed to lease a vessel, and normal lease procurement corporate governance is a board, tender committee, advertisement, evaluation committee of public servants, then a cabinet note to cabinet, F&GP and so on. None of that. The PNM goes and puts a ministerial committee of Shampa Kujo small pin. Colmimbat, who bought the Sue before, spent extra money to fix it and it never sailed one day. $84 million lost. Put he and LaHunt on a committee to procure. They then buy $120 million Galleons Passage. Is that a higher standard, Keith Scotland? Is that corporate governance best practice, Keith Scotland? What about Al Rental, an Attorney General who's duncier than you, sitting in the cabinet, recusing himself and going to drink coffee, and the other cabinet colleagues approving the rental by the government of the Attorney General's building and $38 million to outfit the Attorney General building while he's standing up outside in the tight pants, tight shirt, and mascara on his eyelids? Keith Scotland, a higher standard? Keithos? What about all the Al recusals? What about the Small Pin family? What about Small Pin and Al Rawi recusing themselves 92 times from 200 meetings? What is that? That's a higher standard? Every recusal means that there's a conflict of interest. You can't even get in the cabinet, Mr. Blackbencher, Keith Scotland, to get any recusal. That's a higher standard? A higher standard that the Prime Minister puts a minister under him at the office of the Prime Minister, and when the entire Economic Development Board resigns, He appoints his small pin's father to head a committee to investigate and interpret and invite and discuss and meet with all potential investors to report to the office of the Prime Minister where his son is a minister. That's a higher standard, Kitos. Please explain that higher standard. The whole world would love to know this higher standard of PNM corporate governance, because all the textbooks say keep the decision makers far away from the suppliers, but the PNM puts ministers to procure, makes the chain very slow. What about the vessels down in Australia? They went and buy 2 vessels just so, and the ministers went and procured, met with CEOs, took the bids, headed a committee, evaluated and approved. Is that the best corporate governance and the highest standard? What about your government that went in the parliament and the senate to gut the procurement legislation to make it useless? Only people who intend to thief would do that. You all talking about thieves, and you are held to a higher standard. Keith Scotland, you are not even held to any standard, because you in your private practice, you are a big shot lawyer, you did many cases that were groundbreaking. Now you are relegated to the cesspit of PNM fecal content. Keith Scotland, what higher standard, please, my Fatima brother? Come on, man, tell me, let's debate. You have a man who was in the office of the Attorney General, who was the lawyer of Malcolm Jones, that squandered billions of taxpayers' dollars. Your government comes in, he is in the office of the Attorney General. You withdraw and remove the case against Malcolm Jones as a government with 1 page of advice, after there had been, the case was ongoing, that the Privy Council of, you know what? Let me stop talking. Run that Privy Council, run that video, run this, Keith Scotland. Please tell me if this is a higher standard that the PNM that you are a member of is held to, this high standard. Keith Scotland, run it.
Why did AG Faris Alwari pay $10.2 million to Vincent Nelson between 2018 and 2019? The question again is, why did Faris Alwari pay Vincent Nelson $10.2 million? Was this an incentive or bribe in exchange for something else? Furthermore, was this a botched plan for something much more sinister? The millionaire AG and the millionaire lawyer have some explaining to do.
But doesn't he go a bit further than that? I mean, isn't he saying this is all rather extraordinary? There was 2 pretty confident opinions from senior counsel that the case should be brought against Mr. Jones. It was. In September, there was a change of government. In October, Mr. Jones was appointed to the Standing Committee. Within days, there was a whisper in the papers that the case against him might be dropped. Within 10 days of that, Mr. Nelson is writing a very short opinion. And he's, after all, dealing with withdrawal of a $97 million claim, Mr. Rowe, saying that he thinks there's a reasonable likelihood of failure. In all those, and then it's withdrawn and discontinued, and all the costs have to be paid. Isn't that the basis for saying we must please see the basis upon which Mr. Nelson cast his pessimism, which led to discontinuance?
Well, my lord, it depends upon what one is concerned with. The way it's put by the appellant in his affidavit is, well, it's necessary to allay suspicions. But to put it bluntly, as we do put it bluntly in our case, bluntly the suspicion is that there's been some sort of political interference in all of this, such that for purely political reasons the new government has decided.
Yes, Keith Scotland, please present me an argument that the PNM is held to a higher standard. What was that, Keith Scotland? How come the case against Ken Julian, the czar of the PNM, was withdrawn with the $31 million he invested in bamboo networks from ETEC, when the former PNM Minister Christine Sardeo wrote to him as chairman of the board and said, do not invest, we've done due diligence and we find this company to be not worthy of investment. Ken Julian went ahead and the people's money was lost. and you all withdrew, your government withdrew the case from the PNM czar, Ken Julian. On what basis? What was the standard? Please tell me, Keith Scotland. Minister Dillon, a minister in the government of PNM, receives a multi-million-dollar gift of an apartment in Manhattan, and your prime minister says it was a gift? Explain that, please. What about Camille's cash? She was wearing an outfit just like what you wearing there. What about that? What about the declaration she signed? What about that high standard of propriety to not lie on a declaration? What about that? Where that reach? Yeah, you can tell me about that? How Marlene get charged and walking up and down the steps of the magistrate court? That's high standard that the PNM is held to. Please let us know. I would love to know. What about Andre Montai in the recent judgment? You analyze it. Hey, what's this camera blinking for? What that mean? Colms Construction. What about Colms Construction? He constructing thing all over the place. That must be the battery going in the camera. Good thing I noticed it there, douglAR Politics. We work as a team. Plug in the jack, boy. Give it current. Yes, it's still, yeah, yes. What about Colms Construction Minister of Finance going into the parliament knowing full well that when the laws he passes as your government, he will benefit as a contractor of multi-dwelling abodes. What is that? A high standard of propriety? What this government is and conflicts or conflict of interest is synonymous. This is interesting, Keith Scotland. I want you to respond to each and every one of these, to show me the higher standard, please. Emailgate, your prime minister went in to a parliament and lied for an hour and 15 minutes and continues to lie on concocted, fabricated pieces of nonsense, Keith Scotland. And he's your prime minister, your leader, your siege. He is a total flipping liar. That's a high standard to just concoct. Board appointment and chairmanship, family, friends, all the money of the country. You can't even get to spend no money. Your constituents cannot even get garbage pickup because Noel Garcia, Newman George, A.A. Kwamena, Small Pin, Daddy Pin, and Brother Pin. I forget to talk about Brother Angus, Small Pin, Tiny Pin, Young. $3.81 billion of work from his government, the government that his brother swore in to be a part of, and just so they win tenders after being zero in September 2015 to hero under the PNM. What was that? What's that higher standard there, Mr. Blackbencher, Keith Scotland? The EBC head, an independent institution, and your government chooses and appoints the niece of a former sitting minister as the head of the EBC. That's high standard there, Keith Scotland. My goodness, that is fairness and propriety. That's like if you have the World Cup final between Argentina and Brazil, and the match is being played in Brazil, you should have 4 officials from Brazil. The VAR should be a team of officials from Brazil, and the fourth official should be from Brazil also. That will be a fair match, Keith Scotland. That's a high standard of propriety, integrity, and accountability. Keith, shame on you, boy. You know your brother, I shame at you. Look where you reach in your old age, boy. 8 months, 6-all in Tobago. And for 8 months, the PNM has been carrying on in Tobago as if them win, them in control, them budgeting, them ignoring the other 6 members of the THA, them ignoring half of the population of Tobago and proceeding to move like dictators in Tobago. That's a higher standard. Then instructing the EBC to go and divide Tobago into 15 seats. The EBC is supposed to be an independent institution, a creature of the Constitution. They have a formula that they're supposed to do to divide up any part of Trinidad and Tobago into any way through their equation. They then tell the government and lay in parliament their report and recommendation, not vice versa, Keith Scotland. So y'all reverse the process, warp the process, put the process in your favor, and that's a higher standard of fairness, propriety, transparency. Keith Scotland, yeah, notice I ain't bother with Ethelbert. Ethelbert can't even go in your own pot. Ethelbert, I so ashamed for you. I'll never leave Ethelbert, yes? COVID lies, COVID chaos, COVID oppression, COVID corruption, and you talking about a higher level? Where the 23 billion gone? Why people can't get support? What's going on? What's going on with our public assets? Why did you gut the procurement legislation? And now, let me ask you something specific to you now, Keith Scotland, because I think you're losing it. I see a little article here, down in the corner of the Express. Ex-CEO of the sport company concludes case with the sport company. Nearly 4 years after leaving the sports company, which 4 years means he was the CEO under PNM government, with a PNM board, a PNM Minister of Cabinet, and a PNM Prime Minister. Former CEO Adam Monstrin has settled matters with his former employers, which mean with the PNM government. In 2017, Monstrin was one of 5 employees who were dismissed following a forensic audit. However, the former sport official took the matter to both the High Court and Industrial Court because of what he said was the need to protect his profession. Right, very good. However, in a press release late Saturday, Monstrin said the dismissal of 2nd November 2017 has been wholly withdrawn. So he had them in court. He was wronged. They fire him wrongfully. He's making his case in court, both the Industrial and the High Court, against the PNM government. And just so, here, he, the same man who was wrong, withdraw the case. Interesting, eh? But here the interesting part, Keith Scotland. Monstrin was represented in the matter by attorneys Keith Scotland, Jacqueline Chan, and another one. Keith Scotland, one, please tell me that you took yourself, when you swore in and screened for the PNM and went into Port of Spain South and swore to be the Member of Parliament, please tell me that you took yourself out of that case. Please also tell me, Keith Scotland, that you also advised your client, Mr. Monstrin, as you had now joined the government that he was suing, that he should remove himself from your chambers because you're a senior attorney in your chambers, one of the best, and that he should seek representation from another law firm. Did you recommend that to Monstrin? Because you would understand that one would suggest that there could be a conflict of interest if a client and an attorney fighting the government, but the client's attorney is in the government. So Keith Scotland, please explain to your boy. Please tell me what you did. Very interesting, because it's this higher standard. Everybody is thief, but not you PNM. Everybody else thief, but not PNM. You're ahead to a higher standard. So please, Keith Scotland, explain this former CEO sport company settling the case and withdrawing it against the government, of which you are in the government now, and you are noted here as his attorney, one of his attorneys. Did you, one, remove yourself from the case? But that's not good enough. Did you also advise him for his best interest to go and seek legal counsel that was not conflicted? Because your chambers, if you are in government, you're close to the government, you understand the concepts of bias, apparent bias, conflict of interest very well, because you're a brilliant attorney. You're not a good politician, because you just jump in a safe seat and let PNM abuse you and treat you like a black bencher and make you beg and lick and borrow. Okay, but I shame for you, because you're my boy. Shame. A shame. I'm glad my mother didn't live to see this, Keith Scotland, but no big thing. And this higher standard, Archie, let me show the people of Trinidad and Tobago the higher standard that the PNM possesses. Look at the performance. Even the former PNM member says critical year squandered. Rowley flops. This is in 2 days newspaper. You just run thing. You run thing. Everything mash up. Whole mash up. Roads mash up. Pothole. Roads collapsing. Roads landslides. Cumberland Hill. Communication system going to fall down. Men drowning. Men walking. The whole country infrastructure. Bridge mash up. Drain mash up. Look at it. On top of that, in a state of emergency, 7 murders in 6 hours, ambushed and executed. Carry Chris rating, Imbot rating, Trinidad and Tobago downgraded. Route 1 and 2 maxi taxis, raise fares. This is PNM competence, PNM higher standard, PNM brilliance. Contraband items found in prison search, AR-15 among 3 weapons found in Operation Seabreeze. Cops charged man with solicited, police charged with soliciting money to speed up firearm license application. 7 Venezuelans among 9 held with protected birds and turtle. Water, then the sunshine, check it out, everywhere water. Cumberland Hill collapse. You keep running thing, you know, Archie. I reading and you running. Cumberland Hill collapse threatens nationwide communication. Under the PNM, this is PNM governance. Everything is in total collapse and chaos. Nothing working. Princess Town residents worried landslip could soon cut off community. Wallerfield road disappears. Mova residents complain of roads. Penal, Point 14, road problems. Labre, Maraval, Diego Martin, Tabakit, Freeport, all articles complaining about the road infrastructure, potholes, road mashing up, bad roads in Santa Maria, Anga, Maruga villages. Pensioner 73 takes drain cleaning matters into his own hands. A pensioner who ain't even get a pension check in the last 4 months going in a drain to clean it out because the PNM government can't even clean out drain. Recent rainfall worsens landslip in Maruga. Residents want road fixed after landslip. This is in southern districts of Williamsville, Hardbargain, and Ben Lomond. Residents, farmers stranded in Brasso Seco Trace after 4th landslide reported in 2 months. Great is the PNM. Great is the PNM. Great is the PNM. After the 4th landslide in 2 months, they had the editorial of the Newsday that promotes the PNM. Better approach to road maintenance needed. Really? So y'all wasn't there when Kamala Prasad-Bissessar was the Prime Minister and Jack Warner was the Minister of Works and Transport, and then Suraj Ratan Ramachan and Minister George. Y'all didn't see road works, smooth roads, paving, maintenance, bridge management, bridge construction, bridge maintenance. All you didn't see that Newsday. All you put Rowley there, everything in total, complete collapse. And you now saying that a better approach to road maintenance is needed? It is astonishing then to understand that for years the government has turned a deaf ear to entreaties of the TNT Publish and Broadcasters Association to do necessary repairs to the single road that allows access to the transmission site. After a first phase of remedial works done in July 2019, responsibility for managing the critical site continued to bounce between the Diego Martin Regional Corporation, which is the PNM, and the Telecommunications Authority, which is the PNM, and the Ministry of Works and Transport, which is the PNM. So the PNM Newsday, Judy Raymond, is complaining about the inactivity, the inaction, and the incompetence of the PNM under Rowley, because the PNM Newspaper and Broadcasters Association was telling PNM that Cumberland Hill would collapse, and now Rohan Sinanan says it's a critical issue. But it had been a critical issue from since 2017. But when you have a government that does not care, incompetent, they only want to procure without procurement, and they're not interested in solving anybody else's problem but their own, this is what you get. This is the highest standard, Keith Scotland, of the government that you are in. You are in a total, complete, duncy head, dotish, incompetent government, and you have the audacity to criticize others. The record is clear. Even your Newsday, Judy Raymond, PNM, pen writer with the golden pen is saying it's total incompetence. It's from the only instance of road serving a small area to face collapse in the face of increasing. It's not only there, not only Cumberland Hill. Here in October, Golden Grove Road in Aruka, a major thoroughfare. This is the Newsday now, and they say no work done. Last week, landslips on the Penal Rock Road after heavy rain threatened to cut off Santa Maria Village. The list of road collapses related to rain, neglect, or poor construction has been steady and consistent. This is Judy Raymond, Newsday, PNM, Rowley and Rice. The horny goatweed not walking, so the truth jumping out. When the Southern Main Road in Command Coromandel village collapsed in October 2017. It almost severed access to Cedros. Cars had to creep by on the shoulder. This is 2017. And no heavy vehicles could pass. A section of Gart Road in Williamsville collapsed suddenly in October 2018, stranding 4,000 residents and triggering protests. And now this was 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, and it's just getting worse, 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 worse. And this is the Newsday. This is not UNC. This is not the checklist. This is Newsday. But here it is now, continuing in the woes, right? TSTT signals more cost cutting to come. Now these things are now, keep in mind, under the Minister of Man. Who is the Minister of Man again? A minister who went in a project, in a function down in Karanat, Chagaramas, and he see a Wassa pickup. And he see two men in the Wassa pickup and know that one of the man was in the wrong seat and shouldn't have be driving, and make a report. And when the man investigates, senior managers gone to the investigator and trying to tell him to change his story. This man, the Minister of Man, you see all the makeup? How he know that man so good in the van? I don't know. I confused. But he know that man so good. Passing at 40 kilometers per hour, he see that man. He investigate. He know that man real good. So leave he there. TSTT signals more cost cutting to come. Company to reduce loss of 94 million. So more jobs to be lost. No water across the whole country. Indigo Martin, all up by me, Bagatelle, Water Wheel. No water for 2 weeks, 3 weeks in some instances, and 3 months in others. Water woes in Belmont, Maraval, says the Guardian. Landslip peril in Princestown. Landslip disrupt water supply in parts of Penal. Is this man, Minister Man, walking on? Water disruptions for customers served by Maraval and Freeport plants. The Water and Sewerage Wassa says due to defective discharge valve, customers in Maraval, Freeport, no water under this minister, man, you know. Infrastructure in a state of disrepair. All TNTech infrastructure in a state of disrepair after PNM, and this man in charge 6 years. But watch this. Everything in shambles. But the Newsday do a PR piece on this minister man again. The second one in the last 4 days, trying to tell the population that this man, who is overseeing the total collapse of public utilities, probably the worst minister of public utilities in the history, and he now reached everything collapsing, nothing working good. But they're doing PR piece on him when we really want to know, what about the man in the van? That's the plan. We take the golden hand to stand and look for Fran, but you don't want Fran because that's not a man. We want to know about that investigation, what the police saying about that. And look at the government, the PNM government that Keith Scotland says the highest standard. The labas of Paget Street, swarms of lines, look at it, garbage. This is on top of Beverly Hills, where Keith Scotland is the MP. Beverly Hills citizens in festering garbage. We all are also having Diego Martin all over the Diego Martins, garbage all over the place. And this is the PNM oil spill having a barbaric effect on wildlife. Every single, I'm just showing you this segment, look how long it is, and nothing good, nothing works under the PNM. Every minister, every ministry, every state agency, statutory authority, everything is in a state of total collapse under Rowley's PNM. The spill having barbaric effect on wildlife, and internationally we are known as Neanderthals. We are barbaric, not taking care of our fishery. Gary Abu that go out there and show videos of oil and our heritage Paria boat trying to cut it up. Pelicans, fish, life, all the seabed, all shattered. The environment destroyed. Heritage, even on the land now, in the rivers are oil now, and Heritage says it's on standby to rebuild riverbank. Yeah, you stand by Heritage, and when you're standing by, what you're standing by to appeal the fake oil case, or Rowley not on that? AA Kwamena, are you still Rowley personal lawyer? Look, great race. Look at the headline: Great Debris Race. Great Debris Race. The fastest boats had to dodge debris in our sea. Pull back. That's what the PNM does with the environment. All over the world, people are laughing at us and wondering what's going on here. But hear this one. Trinidad and Tobago joins Global Ocean Alliance. Trinidad and Tobago has officially become a member of the Global Ocean Alliance, and I can't say no more. These PLM have no shame. And we had watched Camille. Camille, they wear no wig again. Where the cash girl? Where the thing? Where the statutory declaration? Where the police? You have no more police who run to hold up in the parliament. What you doing? The Trinidad and Tobago, where we are oil spill that is killing fish, killing pelican, killing birds. We have rivers with oil. We damaging debris in the ocean, plastic bottle, disgusting, treating our environment with scant courtesy. We gone and join Global Ocean Alliance and take a picture, yes? These PNM have no flipping shame. Why go say? On top of that, move the man of Minister Amanda. Go so Minister Amanda, boy. Unified coaches call for answers, even in sport. Everything ain't working. This is the next cycle to the 2024 Olympics, right? And then Shamfa and Douglas Camacho, that old clown who can't even put on a hockey turf for anybody. That PNM dunce who has shattered sport across Trinidad and Tobago for decades with his opinionated, elitist dunce self. He come to say, we are investing and we're moving to 2024. Look, 2 under 14 teams could not even go. They were invited to a little tournament in Dominica and they could not go. That is great preparation for the future, that our under 14 children are not allowed to go to play football. Under 20 track worlds, everybody celebrating. Jamaica get all kind of 11 medals. I even see my red, black and white in a final in under 20 world track. What is under 20? Not the next level is CAC Games, Pan Am Games, Commonwealth Games, World Championships, senior level Olympics. Isn't that the next? And we can't make a final because of this. But she could look better. Look. Hee. Things so bad. Things so bad in Trinidad that Dwayne Bravo and all leave we. Oh Lord. Well, when Dwayne gone, I gone. douglAR politics, we out. Bless.
Blessings to all. Welcome to Facts, Not Fiction. Join me Thursday the 26th at 7:30 p.m. sharp, yes, for another Facebook Live as we discuss facts, not fiction. Keith Rowe, extend state of emergency. Are you mad? I'm out. Blessing to all. My name is Victor Roberts, the activist for the constituency of Labrie. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I am here making a national plead. A plead, ladies and gentlemen, to every village, to every community, to every constituency. Collectively, we must say no to the continuation of this state of emergency. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a draconian measure that has been implemented by the Rowley regime. And ladies and gentlemen, I am therefore asking you to wear something white, to place something white on your fences, on your gates, a white flag on your vehicle. Let us stand united as with one voice we say no to the continuation of this state of emergency. Stay blessed, stay strong. I'm out.
Good evening. Thank you all very much for joining us once again on this virtual platform. I want to thank all the speakers, brilliant speakers who came before me, sharing the views of the United National Congress with you, with the public. I know many of you are very worried about the continued deterioration of our country. However, I know many are simply just worried about whether they'll get something to eat tomorrow or tonight. And then we understand and appreciate we are in very, very trying times. And that's why I want to speak with a few issues that are top national issue policies at the moment. I will share with you my thoughts on those. At the top of this list has to do with the state of emergency. What is a state of emergency? What does it do? What does the government use it for? How they intend to carry on? And what is their rationale for the state of emergency? Now, I saw the Prime Minister in an interview, which is carried in The Guardian today, front page, that the Prime Minister is saying, look, we need this state of emergency extended because we have an aggressive vaccination policy. Well, for the life of me, I do not understand how vaccination drive is tied to the SOE. People go to get their vaccines during the day. They don't go in the night with curfews and so on. When you take your children out for the Pfizer, and I urge you, please do take them to take the Pfizer, but why do you need a state of emergency for an aggressive vaccine drive? Again, we look forward to the debate on Wednesday. Perhaps it will give us further explanations. As far as I see it, there are 5 pieces of legislation, guidelines, rules governing what happens in this pandemic period. So you have the emergency powers regulations, you have the public health regulations, you have guidelines, you have orders made by the Commissioner of Police, you also have things put out by the Ministry of Health on their website. So it's all over. I said last week, it's like a jigsaw puzzle for any citizen, any individual to understand what is happening at every given point in time. And on top of this, compounded with the state of emergency extension. Tell me, and I ask the government to tell us, come Wednesday in the debate, why do you need the state of emergency? What extraordinary powers are you going to get from extending the SOE that you don't already have under the public health regulations? I noted a second point for extension had to do with people breaking the curfew, having freedom parties. Is that a reason for a state of emergency, that you restrict rights? Indeed, what you're doing, you're putting all human rights and freedoms in quarantine. So while you're quarantining people, you're quarantining our rights, you're arresting and taking away fundamental rights. You say you're doing this in the interest of balancing livelihoods and lives. And whilst you do that, you're locking down the business community. Businesses have closed, people are out of jobs. Where's the balance? There is no balance. Someone shared with me something I found really funny. As I say, if things were not so serious, it would be a laughing matter. But is it that the COVID gets legs and wings and flies after 9 p.m.? So you shut the country down curfew-wise from 9 p.m.? Is it like a Dracula or a Sukuya or whatever, these creatures of the night, they come out after 9 p.m. in the night? I mean, what is the rationale? And the data and the science is not supporting the extension, but again, we remain to be convinced in the debate on Wednesday as to whether this works. We had less cases when we did not have a state of emergency. Think of that. Less deaths, about 200 and something deaths prior to the start of the lockdown. Since the lockdown, we've won over 1,000 deaths. In terms of cases, our cases have exploded. And all of this has been happening in the state of emergency. So the science and the data is not reflecting that you need an SOE to bring down the deaths, to bring down the number of cases. I referred to the Express yesterday, and I quote, they said, with the economy on the way to fully reopening, The state of emergency serves no purpose that cannot be met by the public health ordinance in terms of limiting gatherings, curtailing business hours, enforcing making in public, and maintaining social distancing in public transport. So why do you need an SOE? Because the public health regulations already gives you powers to carry out the social distancing, to carry out the curfew hours, the curtailing of business, and why. The Express further points out, which I totally agree with, a state of emergency is the ultimate legislative tool available to a government for dealing with a crisis. It is to be used sparingly and within defined conditions. Outside of this, it can be an abuse of power and should therefore not be invoked lightly. So with the SOE serving no real purpose, because we already have public health regulations, which can be further amended to assist in what you want to achieve. It seems the only reason has to be that you want control. Now we know that you're locking out trade unions from protesting and carrying out what they do under democracy. We know you have a Tobago House of Assembly elections that you want to call, so you want to stop the other side from campaigning. You will go out and you will campaign. Are you going to use this for control? Controlling people who are dissatisfied with what you're doing. I think you're seeking to extend this, so it has to do with your failure as a government to manage with competence or to manage at all. And therefore, the SOE is a fig leaf that you're seeking to hide behind. But funny enough, it's not a fig leaf because this is very draconian law. So restricting rights and freedoms, placing rights and freedoms into quarantine, that is all that you're doing. Look at this. On May 15th, when the SOE was proclaimed, the total number of COVID-19 deaths stood at about 276. 276 when you declared the state of emergency. Positive cases were at 15,899. By yesterday, Saturday, August 21, the number of deaths had risen to 1,219. The number of positive cases, 42,962. So under the SOE, you did not go down, you went up. What is your rationale? Please come and tell us what is the purpose, because the data and the science is not supporting your rationale. So in the debate on Wednesday, we want to hear your explanations as to how and why your rationale for extending the state of emergency. We want you to tie it with the science and with the data, not just with I think so, not because you think or you feel. Tie it back to science and data, because you're curtailing rights and freedoms, fundamental rights and freedoms, very important in a democracy, and at the same time our businesses and our working community on lockdown serving no productive purpose. Lives, yes, but livelihoods are equally important. I want to remind you that this person, Rowley, I want to remind you about the short memory that he has. That he is now saying we need this state of emergency. Remember, he said something different before. I'll show you a video in a few minutes, but let's talk of that for a second. Mr. Rowley said the state of emergency would not really have changed the circumstance of what is required of the individual to deal with COVID. So are you a hypocrite? Look at this video now. Ms. Archie, will you share the video for our viewers and listeners?
As Prime Minister, I said to you in the beginning, we did not accept the advice of persons to have a state of emergency and remove the police, the power of the police to be constrained by the Constitution and allow the police to act without control, because it was not going to improve the position of the individual to, at the personal level, respond to the virus. So those who advised us to have a state of emergency because it was serious, to them, the existence or the declaration of a state of emergency would have indicated how serious it was. But to us and to the Ministry of Health, it would not really have changed the circumstance of what is required of the individual. Ladies and gentlemen, today, from midnight tonight, Trinidad and Tobago will be under a state of emergency involving a curfew that from then onwards would be 9 p.m. to 5 a.m.
You see clearly, this is your captain during this storm who has been flip-flopping. You have seen it in his own words on the video we shared with you. Now, I want to ask you something. I am saying the opposition will go into debate with an open mind. We have questions. We are saying it is clear that the SOE has not accomplished what they said it would accomplish, which was to bring down the deaths, bring down the number of cases. It is clear from the data that that has not happened. So we go into Parliament on Wednesday with an open mind, and we remain attentive to hear what government will share with us in the debate so that we can take a decision. In the meantime, we represent you, the population. We represent you. And therefore, we are asking you to express your view on the SOE extension. On Wednesday, which is the day we go to Parliament to debate this motion, we call upon you Wednesday to honk your horns in your cars as you're driving. You're not breaking any law. Put on your headlights and let us see if you're opposed to this SOE. If you are not opposed, well, then you don't have to do it. But if you are, it will send us a signal so we can better represent you in the Parliament. So what is this I ask of you? I request, John Public out there, please express your disapproval with the extension of the SOE by honking your horns, by putting on your headlights, and I will be driving to Parliament. All of us will be going all day on the roads, and therefore we'll be able to see and get some kind of signal. And that is what I ask for you to do. So turn on your headlights as a mark of your opposition to this move. And of course, you can honk your horns. And that way you'll be within the law and sending a clear signal to those of us who want to represent you properly. I turn now to the economic pandemic. I have been speaking about this repeatedly. Imagine Imbert is saying and boasting $5 billion spent. Oh, where did it go? Who got that $5 billion? We still have to find that out. So they spent $5 billion on COVID relief. You know how many people contact us as MPs, as our councillors in our offices, out of offices? They have not got any relief. So the question remains, where has that money gone? In our own constituencies, we are met with constituents asking for food on a daily basis. Food, they're not asking for construction materials, they're not asking for laptops now. They were, what they want is food, just food. Whilst Imbert and the PNM spend millions in rent every year, every month, they're very happy to give you a market box once a month or whatever the case may be. Look at how much money they are spending renting buildings for offices. The Ministry of Trade and Industry head office, Independence Square, government pays a monthly rental of $973,440 per month. You get a food basket of market box. The Ministry of Social Development and Family Services, sub-offices, St. Vincent Street, monthly cost of $729,316. Ministry of Public Utilities head office, 1 Alexandra Street, St. Clair, monthly cost of $600,000. And as you know, the AG is very much associated with this building. Personnel Department head office, 3 Alexandra Street, St. Clair, monthly rent $575,000. Again, the Attorney General is very involved in this. So all these money is being paid to rent buildings every year. And remember, the persons linked to some of these properties is none other, as I said, than the Attorney General. So here we are. You get a measly market box if you're lucky. You get a part of these salary relief grants if you're lucky, because the majority of people are still saying they don't get it. They haven't received. Whilst you have these super rich people collecting hefty rents who would obviously have had a conflict of interest in the cabinet when these rentals were approved. But that's okay. They can continue to do as they like. I want to share with you what we see in the UNC as some economic booster shots at this time and thereafter. While the government sits on its hands and plots to find ways to take advantage during the SOE, we have been very hard at work. We continue to offer plans and policies to rescue our nation. Our policies are sound and feasible. Look, even the PNM has been boasting about accomplishments of a UNC government. I talk about the airport, the best in the Caribbean. You remember they called it a cowshed. And now they want to take credit for something they did not do. Indeed, we need to ask, what have you done in your 6 years in office? What have you done? Have you built any schools? Have you built any hospitals? And don't take credit for the hospitals that they were our brainchild and we gave birth to those. What have you built? What roads have you fixed? Someone was telling me if you're in Port of Spain now, it's like you just have to move and swerve to avoid potholes. There's more potholes than road. That is the capital city. Can you imagine for the rest of the country, you have not even kept maintenance for basic infrastructure? They're boasting, as I say, about the airport. They lambasted the Coover Children's Hospital. It took a pandemic to force them to open that hospital built under the government island. We have policies focused on people, people-centered policies, people-centered government, people-centered governance. We have 5 guiding principles for our economic booster shots, and they are as follows. Principle 1, people-centered government. Getting people back to work. That is principle 1 of the UNC's philosophy. The core philosophy of the UNC is that our nation's greatest resource is our human resource, people. Build up our people, and in that way we can build up our nation. Our plans and policies are focused on creating sustainable, well-paying jobs so that people can have a better quality of life. And we have a track record. In our term in office, we created over 50,000 jobs. Under this government, 120,000 and more jobs have been lost. So we created none, and even those that were created, they've lost them. They have no plan for people-centered development. They have no plan for putting people to work in sustainable jobs. A second principle of the UNC philosophy is that we are pro-business. Allow the private sector to drive growth and development. Pro-business, a very important factor in a democracy, a constitutional democracy such as we are. Pro-business. We have a pro-business strategy to allow the private sector to be the main driver of economic growth, of transformation, and sustainable development. Principle 3 of the UNC philosophy of governance is resilience. What do we mean by that? Deepen economic reforms, but do so with a human face. Resilience. The UNC focuses on improving the economy's resilience to future shocks, bringing the budget into balance, stabilizing high public debt, and protecting our external position and safeguarding financial stability. Principle 4 of the UNC core philosophy, local content. We strongly advocate and believe that we must give people a sense of ownership and independence in our nation and in driving our economy. All projects must include opportunities to maximize local content and local value added through jobs, skills training, procurement of goods and services, and technology transfer. Principle 5, sustainability, promoting environmental stewardship. Trinidad and Tobago is blessed, we know that. Abundant natural resources, from forests and wildlife to rivers and wetlands, and of course the coastal and maritime ecosystems. This natural environment is the foundation of our well-being and by extension the foundation of our economy. And I'm speaking here about sustainability and promoting environmental stewardship. Principle 5. To this end, we have developed, and I spoke about it to you last week, I spoke to you all about our plans for the creative industries. We are a unique nation. We have come, our peoples have come, our ancestors from all the great nations of the world, from all the continents, from all the great nations of the world, bringing a very unique sense of culture and a blending of our culture from all these origins that we have, from our heritage. So we have tremendous competitive advantage in the creative industries. I spoke to you about that before, and today I want to share a video with you to further develop, which I promised to do, how we see that we can use the creative industries to really bring in foreign exchange, to create jobs, really to open up the economy. Take a look at this video detailing our plans for this sector. on the creative industries.
A new UNC government will have to bring our economy back onto a sustainable growth path, restart the diversification process away from the dominant energy sector, and restore trust in government. The roadmap for turning our economy around is our National Economic Transformation Master Plan. We know what we want to do. 50,000 jobs in 5 years, and doubling our non-energy exports to $5 billion by 2025. We know how we're going to do it. As we implement our master plan, we will tap into our rich cultural diversity in a meaningful, strategic way that gives our creative arts a front seat role in becoming self-sufficient and contributing to our economy. The UNC will commit to our creative industries in ways that will strengthen our national identity and create a cohesive brand around our local arts. Our creative industries will deliver 7,500 new jobs, generate $50 million in foreign exchange, and increase creative industries' contribution to GDP to 1%. The UNC government will establish a steel pan manufacturing industry in East Port of Spain, develop a Trini Creative Arts Street in West Port of Spain, establish a full Carnival in a Box franchise for international markets, promote local creative content to international brands and a global audience, and market Trinidad and Tobago as an alternative Bollywood island destination. We know what we want to do. 50,000 jobs in 5 years and doubling our non-energy exports to $5 billion by 2025. We know how we're going to do it. Let's get Trinidad and Tobago working again.
Okay. So we just shared with you a video of our vision for the creative industries, and we see this as a way of diversifying our economy. Of course, this is not the only thing. We actually went ahead to do several things for diversification of the economy. This is why we built all the infrastructure of the sporting facilities in the country, the National Tennis Center, which is now renamed Racket Center. They are so into rackets. The cycling velodrome, the aquatic center, all these sporting facilities that we built. And we saw these projects as very crucial for diversification because they would allow for sports tourism alongside other things. We also had a vision for medical tourism, and that is why we started to roll out all the hospitals, the Couva Children's Hospital, the Rima Hospital, the Point Fortin Hospital, and tied into that we also had the plan for the Port of Spain Hospital in the capital city. All of this infrastructure was in terms of diversifying our economy, rolling out for medical tourism. So sports tourism was very much a part of our plan. Medical tourism, very much a part of our plan. And education tourism. That's why we set up the campus in Derby. It was not to say that we were concerned about South. Of course we are. We're concerned about North, South, East, West, wherever you are. First was to ease up the burden on the St. Augustine campus where everyone had to go, thereby creating more spaces for students along the corridor, north, east, and along that east-west corridor. More students would have been able to access the St. Augustine campus. And the students down in the south from all the way Point Fortin, Mayaro, down south would have been able to access the Derby campus. But further, it would have opened up for education tourism, so that more students from the CARICOM region would come here to study, and therefore they would be contributing revenue, foreign exchange, because they would have to pay to live here. They would have to pay to come to the campus. These were some of the things that we envisaged in terms of diversification. We will share more on diversification on another day. We have a rollout of plans that we have put together, and I will share some other areas with you. I speak of these because these are things that we actually initiated. Since the Rowley PNM has come into office, they've scrapped everything, and just as they've scrapped Petrotrin into scrap iron, they've scrapped all our major energy areas into scrap iron junkyards, Point Lisas, Palo Seco, Point Fortin, Santa Flora, and of course the famous place that Trinidad was renowned for at Petrotrin. So the minister of everything now has become the minister of nothing. I speak of none other than the young minister. Minister of everything, now nothing, because you have totally annihilated the energy sector, wiped out the energy sector. And you have not answered questions for us about what is the status of the Petrotrin refinery. What is the status of the Nyquan deal, owing millions of dollars? Who will pay back that? What is the status of Point Lisas? What is the status of the sale of the Petrotrin refinery? What is the status of the AV drilling arbitration? Months have passed and total silence from the board of Petrotrin. The Prime Minister has wiped his hand like Pontius Pilate and said that's a decision for the Petrotrin board. I shared with you before, the Petrotrin board is a PNM cabinet appointed board. They have been totally silenced. Whilst the senior counsel was a chief lawyer paid by the Petrotrin board, paid by government, paid with your money, have said they should go to court to set aside the ruling of the arbitration panel. Nothing and not a word, total silence. So what about the oil spills? Since you scrapped the refinery, scrapped the Point-à-Pierre compound, we have been getting more and more oil spills which you are seeking to cover up and hide. Where is the MIA, Minister of Energy, missing in action? We can't hear from him. We saw the collapse, as I said, of the Train 1, LNG. What is the latest update on this? We have had nothing coming out of the Minister of Energy and the Minister of Energy when the government still seems to believe that the energy sector is the way to go. You have destroyed it and you have to find other ways. So we share with you some of our areas and plans, vision for really rejuvenating our economy, even during the pandemic and after the pandemic. Okay. My friends, as I close tonight, I know it has been a long journey, but we still have far to go. We have come very far, but we have much more potential as a nation. We will be celebrating our independence anniversary very shortly, as early as next week. I'll speak to you before that day, but we've come a long way as an independent nation. We have the potential to go even further and to do much greater. With each passing day, we seem under this rowdy government to be taking 1,000 steps backwards with none going forward. I tell you, I'm not discouraged. I remain ready as ever to challenge the dictator called Rowley. On Wednesday, we will return to Parliament to debate the SOE extension. And you know, I have a question for the government, because on the order paper, there are two sets of motions. One has to do with private members' motions, which are our motions, and the other is a motion to extend the state of emergency. But yet we are being told that we cannot in this session ask any questions. We cannot ask questions. There are questions on our order paper, which are questions on notice that are there, and this is an order paper in this first session of the 12th Parliament. It's not a new session. We will not be entering the second session. So why can we not have questions on notice from the opposition? Why can we not file urgent questions, which you can do for each sitting of the Parliament? And why can we not file matters of urgent public importance? These are things that we could do. We are still in the first session of the 12th Parliament. Let the government answer why it is that they're giving priority to quarantining our rights. They're giving priority to coming and taking away your rights by extending a state of emergency, but the opposition is given no opportunity to raise questions in the Parliament. So you are, in fact, putting this Parliament is being abused by the government. They're using the Parliament just to gallivate and gallant and gallop and take away your rights, and they will not allow for the opposition to have a voice in the Parliament. Of course, they've already shut us down by cutting down the speaking time of members. I don't know if it is by cutting down speaking time you're preventing COVID. The things that they're doing are just not rational. How does it stop COVID by telling me I can only speak for X amount of time? Cut down all our speaking times in the Parliament. Again, abusing the rights and privileges of parliamentarians in the Parliament. So I call upon you to tell me, if you say it's an urgent session, it's an extraordinary session, well, why then does the order paper have our motions, private motions? Why are they on the order paper? What is that, a ruse? So if you said you're extraordinary sitting, urgent sitting, and the only thing should have been your motion that you want to railroad through the Parliament. I want the public to understand that the motion for the extension of the state of emergency will be passed by a simple majority of the Parliament. However, we reserve the right, even though our vote will not count, we reserve the right to raise the questions and the concerns on your behalf in the Parliament on Wednesday. I ask again of you to please remember on Wednesday, put on your headlights, honk your horns, and show that you are not in favor of the extension of the SE. I thank you very much. May God continue to bless you, and have a good night. Thank you very much.
Blessings to all. Welcome to Facts, Not Fiction. Join me Thursday the 26th at 7:30 p.m. sharp, yes, for another Facebook Live as we discuss facts, not fiction. Keith Rowe, extend state of emergency. Or you're mad. I'm out.